The Cursed Classroom. When Miss Thompson accepted the job at Willowbrook High, she had no idea what horrors awaited her. The school had a troubled history, rumors of mysterious disappearances and unexplained deaths swirling around its halls. But Miss Thompson was determined to make a difference, to connect with her students and inspire them. On her first day, she entered classroom 13, the last room at the end of a dimly lit hallway. The air felt heavy, and the walls seemed to whisper secrets of their own. Undeterred, Miss Thompson smiled, ready to meet her new class. As the weeks passed, strange things began to happen in classroom 13. Students reported feeling cold spots, hearing whispers when no one else was around, and seeing shadowy figures darting in and out of the corners of the room. At first, Miss Thompson dismissed the stories as overactive imaginations, but then she began to experience things herself. The feeling of being watched, the sensation of icy fingers brushing against her skin, and the unshakable feeling of dread that hung in the air like a dark cloud. One afternoon, during a particularly intense thunderstorm, the power went out in the school. Miss Thompson lit candles to provide some light, but the darkness seemed to grow thicker, pressing in on them from all sides. As the students huddled together, a chilling voice echoed through the room, speaking words that chilled them to the bone. "Leave this place," it whispered, sending shivers down their spines. Terrified, they fled the classroom, but the voice followed them, growing louder and more insistent with each step they took. Determined to uncover the truth, Miss Thompson delved into the history of Willowbrook High. She discovered that Classroom 13 had once been used for occult rituals by a secret society that had operated within the school. Legend had it that the society's leader had placed a curse on the room, condemning anyone who entered to suffer a fate worse than death. Miss Thompson's heart raced as she realized the implications. The strange happenings in Classroom 13 weren't just a coincidence. They were the result of a powerful curse that had been unleashed upon the school. Armed with this knowledge, Miss Thompson knew she had to break the curse before it was too late. With the help of a few brave students, she conducted a ritual to cleanse the room of the dark energy that had taken hold. As they chanted the ancient incantations, the air crackled with electricity and the temperature plummeted. Shadows danced on the walls, and a sense of malevolence filled the air. But they pressed on, their voices growing stronger with each passing moment. And then suddenly, it was over. The darkness lifted, and Classroom 13 was bathed in a warm, golden light. In the days that followed, the students and staff noticed a remarkable change in Classroom 13. The air felt lighter and the whispers had ceased. It seemed as though the curse had finally been broken. Miss Thompson smiled as she watched her students return to the classroom, their fear replaced with curiosity and excitement. The dark chapter in Willowbrook High's history was finally over, and a new era of learning and discovery had begun. But as she looked out the window, the stormy sky, Miss Thompson couldn't shake the feeling that the darkness was still out there, lurking just beyond the horizon, waiting for its next opportunity to strike. And she knew that she would have to remain vigilant, ready to confront whatever horrors lay ahead. For evil never truly dies. It merely lies dormant, biding its time until it can rise again. And only through courage, determination, and the power of friendship can it be defeated once and for all. The Lost Souls of Lockwood High. Lockwood High School had always been a place of secrets. Tucked away in a sleepy town, its halls echoed with whispers of tragedies long forgotten. But there was one part of the school that students avoided at all costs: the abandoned wing. Rumor had it that years ago a fire had swept through the wing, claiming the lives of several students and teachers. Since then, it had been sealed off, deemed too dangerous to enter. But one night, a group of curious teenagers decided to explore the abandoned wing, drawn by the promise of thrills and adventure. As they crept through the darkened halls, their footsteps echoing ominously, they came across a hidden passage behind a boarded-up doorway. Ignoring the warnings etched into the walls, they ventured deeper into the darkness, their flashlights cutting through the gloom. The air grew colder, and a sense of unease settled over them. They could hear faint whispers echoing through the halls, but they pressed on, determined to uncover the secrets hidden within the abandoned wing. As they explored further, they stumbled upon a forgotten classroom, frozen in time. Desks lay overturned, textbooks scattered across the floor. But it was what lay at the front of the room that sent chills down their spines. A chalkboard covered in cryptic symbols and the words "Help us," written over and over again. Suddenly the air grew thick with a sense of foreboding, and the temperature plummeted. Shadows danced on the walls, and the teenagers felt a presence watching them from the darkness. Before they could react, they heard the sound of footsteps echoing through the halls. Panicked, they turned to flee, but the door slammed shut behind them, trapping them inside. In the dim light of their flashlights, they saw them, apparitions of the students and teachers who had perished in the fire all those years ago. Their faces were twisted in agony, their eyes hollow and empty. "We are trapped," they moaned, their voices echoing through the abandoned wing. "Help us!" Terrified, the teenagers searched for a way out. But every door was locked, every window barred. The spirits drew closer, their cold, lifeless hands reaching out to them. But just when all hope seemed lost, they stumbled upon a hidden staircase leading up to the roof. With the spirits hot on their heels, they climbed frantically, their hearts pounding in their chests. As they burst out onto the roof, the spirits disappeared, their anguished cries fading into the night. Gasping for breath, the teenagers collapsed on the rooftop, their bodies trembling with fear. As dawn broke over Lockwood High, the teenagers emerged from the abandoned wing, their faces pale and their eyes haunted. They vowed never to return. The memory of their harrowing encounter burned into their minds forever. But as they walked away, they couldn't shake the feeling that the spirits of Lockwood High were still out there, trapped in the darkness, waiting for someone else to set them free. And they knew that no matter how hard they tried to forget, the lost souls of Lockwood High would always be a part of them, a reminder of the horrors that lurked just beneath the surface of their sleepy town. Terror in the teachers' quarters. When Mr. Johnson accepted the position of history teacher at St. Agnes Academy, he was thrilled. The prestigious school boasted a rich history and a reputation for academic excellence. But as he settled into his new role and moved into the teachers' quarters on campus, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. The quarters were spacious and well-furnished, but there was an air of emptiness that hung over the rooms like a shroud. No matter how hard he tried, Mr. Johnson couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. One night, while grading papers in his study, Mr. Johnson heard a strange noise coming from the hallway. It sounded like static, crackling and popping in the air. Curious, he went to investigate, but when he opened the door, the noise stopped abruptly. Shrugging it off as a glitch in the old wiring, Mr. Johnson returned to his study. But as he sat down at his desk, he noticed something strange, a message on his computer screen that hadn't been there before. "Error. File not found," it read in bold red letters. Confused, Mr. Johnson tried. As the days passed, Mr. Johnson began to experience more strange occurrences in the teachers' quarters. Lights flickered inexplicably, objects moved on their own, and he heard whispers echoing through the halls late at night. At first, he tried to rationalize the phenomena, attributing them to faulty wiring or his own overactive imagination. But as the activity intensified, he couldn't ignore the feeling that something sinister was at play. Determined to uncover the truth, Mr. Johnson delved into the history of St. Agnes Academy. He discovered that the school had been built on the site of an old cemetery, where hundreds of bodies lay buried beneath the ground. Legend had it that the spirits of the deceased haunted the grounds, seeking vengeance for their disturbed rest. And as Mr. Johnson dug deeper, he realized that the teachers' quarters were located directly above the site of the old cemetery. Armed with this knowledge, Mr. Johnson decided to confront the spirits head-on. He conducted a séance in the teachers' quarters, calling out to the restless souls that lingered within. At first, there was silence, but then slowly the room began to fill with a cold, eerie presence. Mr. Johnson felt a chill run down his spine as the spirits made themselves known, their voices echoing through the darkness. "We seek justice," they moaned, their words echoing with anger and sorrow. "You have disturbed our rest, and now you must pay the price." Terrified but determined, Mr. Johnson pleaded with the spirits for forgiveness. He promised to right the wrongs of the past, to honor the memory of those who lay buried beneath the school. And slowly the spirits began to fade, their anger replaced with a sense of peace. As they vanished into the ether, Mr. Johnson felt a weight lift from his shoulders. From that day on, the teachers' quarters at St. Agnes Academy remained quiet and undisturbed. But Mr. Johnson knew that the spirits would always be watching, their presence a constant reminder of the error that had been made in disturbing their eternal rest. The sinister schoolhouse. When Sarah transferred to Maplewood Academy, she was excited for a fresh start. But as she stepped through the gates of the imposing schoolhouse, she felt a chill run down her spine. There was something off about the old building, something that made her skin crawl. As she settled into her new dormitory, whispers of the school's dark history reached her ears. They spoke of mysterious disappearances, strange happenings, and a sense of unease that lingered in the air like a thick fog. But Sarah brushed off the rumors, determined to make the best of her time at Maplewood Academy. As Sarah attended classes and explored the school, she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Shadows seemed to dance in the corners of her vision, and strange noises echoed through the empty hallways late at night. One evening, as she made her way back to her dormitory, she heard a blood-curdling scream pierce the silence. Terrified, she ran towards the sound, only to find an empty corridor, the source of the scream nowhere to be found. Determined to uncover the truth, Sarah delved into the school's history. She discovered that Maplewood Academy had once been a sanatorium for the mentally ill, a place where patients were subjected to cruel experiments and treatments. Legend had it that the spirits of those who had suffered and died within the walls of the school still lingered, their restless souls seeking revenge on anyone who dared to trespass on their domain. Armed with this knowledge, Sarah joined forces with a group of classmates to conduct a paranormal investigation of the school. Armed with cameras, voice recorders, and other ghost hunting equipment, they ventured into the darkened halls, determined to capture evidence of the supernatural. As they explored further, they encountered strange phenomena, a sudden drop in temperature, unexplained shadows on their photographs, and disembodied voices whispering in the darkness. But it was when they reached the abandoned wing of the school that they encountered something truly sinister. In the dim light of their flashlights, they saw them, the spirits of the former patients, their faces twisted in agony, their eyes empty and hollow. "We seek vengeance," they moaned, their voices echoing through the halls. "You have disturbed our rest, and now you must pay the price." Terrified but determined, Sarah and her friends pleaded with the spirits for forgiveness. They promised to honor the memory of those who had suffered within the walls of Maplewood Academy, to ensure that their stories were never forgotten. As dawn broke over Maplewood Academy, Sarah and her friends emerged from the school, their bodies trembling with exhaustion and fear. But they knew that their ordeal was far from over. From that day on, the schoolhouse remained empty and abandoned, a dark reminder of the horrors that had once taken place within its walls. But Sarah knew that the spirits of Maplewood Academy would always be watching, their presence a constant reminder of the sinister secrets that lay buried beneath the surface.